Today I am doing a rear brake job, and I'm going to be putting on these new pads. These are actually pads that I've had sitting around for a very long time, and the pads I have, or that were on there, we see there's this pad, which is definitely evident to brakes that should be changed, but then there's this pad. Oh god, it looks like it's gonna rain. I better finish this up. And then there's this pad, and this pad has plenty of meat left, but these are both on the same. You can see there the difference between the thickness. So this is indicative of a stuck pin, thus forcing there to be more pressure on one side than the other. And that's exactly what I found. Now these calipers are a little interesting in that the pins are a little hard to figure out. So one pin is actually, instead of it being two screws going into a pin, it's one screw that goes through a pin, which you normally just take out. You pop it up and you change the pad. And then there's another one that is up here that's screwed into the bracket. You can see you could put a socket there and you can unscrew it. I'm gonna leave that alone. I just really wanted to clean it and put some grease on it. So these are the two pins, and at first I thought, oh, there's not really an issue because the screw was able to come out pretty easy. And then I'm like, oh, there's nothing wrong with this. It just slides right in there. No, that actually wasn't the case. This pin was so hard to move. It was so stuck that I had to use this pair of pliers to get like a grip, on one side there and then on the other side of the pin, and actually squeeze and push it out. So, which led me to believe that's probably good that I'm doing this. And the grease is, I don't know if it's ever been changed, maybe it has, but it was very old and it was almost acting like a glue. So we're going to be putting some fresh grease on this pin, on that pin, putting the fresh pads, and putting everything back together. So this is the grease I'm going to be using, this silicone ceramic extreme brake parts lubricants. It says specifically it's for caliper hardware, bracking plates, rubber, and plastic brake components. Great, so we're going to be putting this all over the place. Silicone with ceramic solids to hardware under adverse brake caliper hardware, backing plates, rubber, and plastic components. Okay, so clean the parts. So we're cleaning it with the cleaner. Apply to all moving caliper hardware to create uniform surface areas and prevent noise. Compatible with rubber and plastic components. Lubricant may also be used as a noise suppressor to eliminate caliper brake squeal by applying a thin layer to backing plate or shim. Do not apply to braking surface of pad. All right. One thing I want to comment on is just how well this rubber is held up. Now, these may have been replaced at some point, but it's at least been multiple years, if not the entire life of the vehicle. So this is like 20-year-old rubber, and I mean, it's completely pliable. There's no nicks in it. I mean, it's, other than the dirt, which I've just washed, you can see right there the part number 47775 1616020. I mean, sure, it's on in the sun. It's the rear brake, so it's a little, but even the front brake ones, the boot for the caliper piston was nicked, but not these. These little things are amazing. So, and I mean, they are exposed to a lot of heat and debris, and so they are exposed to definitely heat. I mean, right next to the brakes, I imagine it gets pretty hot. So good job, Toyota. Now we can see the slide pin moves pretty nice. With very minimal effort. Which is what we wanted. So we got everything back together. This slide pin is thoroughly greased. That one is thoroughly greased. Now we're going to grease up these little, I don't know what they're called, little brackets for the pads and put those in, put the pads in, bolt everything down, and this side will be good to go. Alright, I wanted to just take this video to show, I didn't do this on the other side, but just show how everything was when I took the parts off. So we see here how the clips sit, where it is, it's that little side sits on this side, and then the little flange sits on the other side. Another thing which is glaringly missing is this plug. I just noticed it and I just ordered it. So let me make sure it's not on the back of the tire. It's not under there. No. So I don't know how long that's been missing, but this is the first time I noticed it. So it was like $3 from the dealership. I just put that order in, so we'll be able to, because that prevents water and rust from getting in there, which is very important. So we're going to fix that. So let's take this apart. All right, once again, we see one side is getting worn down more than the other. They weren't, you know, at their end, but a good amount of use on them, but mainly the uneven wear is what we're trying to fix here. And we see it's at a good angle, and that angle corresponds again with this slide pin being stuck, and we see it's very, very hard to move. So once again, I'm gonna have to remove it with those big pliers. This is very hard to move. So once again, I'm gonna have to remove this with the big pliers, and that'll be that. So let's take all this apart, clean it down, lube it up, and put it back together. All right, so here are all the parts that are gonna be reused. These little backing plates. Now I know Toyota sells like a shim kit, but I'm gonna use these pads which I had laying around, so for no cost, and if and when I need to change the rear pads again, I'll get Toyota pads. But these are all the stuff I'm going to soak in brake cleaner and try to get it as clean as possible.